Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Lauren Kennedy Brady. I'm the Producing Artistic Director of Theater Raleigh, and we're broadcasting tonight from our new home. We're very excited to be with you tonight, and I hope you are very excited because we have an incredible show tonight with an amazing friend, wonderful human being, and an incredible actor. Two-time Tony Award winner Norbert Leo Butz is with us tonight. That is freaking cool. Also, I want to say before we bring him out and we get started, this has been a real tough year for everybody in the arts. All organizations across the country are suffering, so we are doing these broadcasts as an opportunity to reach out to our patrons and to the fans of theater. So if you are compelled and you can, please donate to theaterraleigh.com tonight. And while you're with us, you can subscribe to our Theater Raleigh YouTube channel because we have a lot of exciting content coming up, including a holiday concert and another Living Room Live, which is one of our weekly broadcasts. So subscribe to us tonight. And I want to give a major thank you to our virtual theater experience sponsor, First Citizens. They are helping us so much bring you these broadcasts, so we couldn't do it without them. So thank you, First Citizens. Now let's just get right to it because I know I'm excited. Norbert Leo Butz is a friend of mine. We have known each other for many, many years, over 20 years. And I cannot wait to catch up with him from his hotel room in Vancouver, where he's shooting a show that I'm not sure he can talk about. It's all very important. It's very fancy. But ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Norbert Butz. Hey, hey.
Lauren! Hello, lady.
How are you? It's so good to see
Hello,
your face.
my friend. I'm
I hope
okay.
you're well. Good,
It's
good. I'm
great
so
to see your
glad.
face. And your face, much better lit than my face. I'm not in a hotel room. This is actually an Airbnb I'm renting. I'm up here for almost 7 months. So,
Oh,
yeah, this is
7 months.
yeah, it's an NBC new drama, sci-fi drama called Debris, which I was shooting the pilot for back in February, and we were 2 days from completing the first episode pilot. I play kind of a CIA, kind of a handler for this crazy enterprise, sort of the Mandy Patinkin kind of for the main character. And we were 2 days from completing the filming, and they shut us down, and so we went home and quarantined back at home, and then came back at the end of September to this bizarre new world of filming.
I cannot even
during
imagine
COVID.
the hoops you're having to go through just to make sure you guys can safely work. But it's very exciting that production has started again.
Totally, and to have had a job to come to, Lauren, oh my gosh, I mean, huge. It got me through because I knew it would be happening again. So I always had something to kind of hold on to. And I always tried to remember that before I started bitching too much, because all our friends, your company, our friends in Broadway shows, regional theaters across the country, just all that loss of income. It's almost overwhelming, almost too much to handle. So
It is. It's crazy.
I couldn't wait to do this with you, what you're doing.
Thank you.
So.
I'm so glad that you said that you would do this because it is the one good thing that we have found out of this really crazy, dark, horrible, nutso time is that we are reaching out to people like you and trying to introduce to our patrons and anybody who actually wants to watch. We're introducing Theater Raleigh to people across the country in a way because we can reach them now virtually, and they don't have to live in our area to know what we're doing. So there's been some rainbows in this, of course.
Totally.
And you probably heard me mention in my welcome that we have found a new theater, a new home, which is something we've been working really hard on.
Yeah, because I was in your last space.
Mm-hmm.
I came down to visit you and to see my buddy Charlie in Next to
Yeah.
Normal. I think that's the last production I got to see. You guys do. So you're in a totally different space than that now.
Yeah, now we're out in sort of North Raleigh. It's sort of a warehouse industrial district,
Oh,
but
cool.
it's really cool, and I'm very excited about the freedom we're going to have. It's more economical for us.
Awesome.
We're going to be able to grow, and I'm really excited about it. And this time, crazy as it was, we had to shut down all our shows, but we were able to focus on building this venue in a way that we wouldn't have had that kind of time before. So I'm grateful for that. But enough about me. I want to talk about you. We're here to talk about you. Let's go through sort of the Norbert Leo Butz, This Is Your Life, because I didn't read your bio, because let's talk about it together. You made your Broadway debut in Rent, right?
I did.
Am
Oh
I
my
right?
God, look at me.
Oh my
Yes,
God,
look
you're
at
so
that
young.
insane picture. I was 28 when I joined that company. I just moved to New York. My story is, it's nuts, Lauren. And
I
you and I talked
remember
about it
some
when
of
we
it,
were doing
honestly.
last 5 years. I got like crazy, crazy, crazy lucky in that I had done a BFA at Webster University. I had done an MFA way down south at the Alabama Shakespeare Festival. I married pretty young, and I actually started teaching and teaching acting at Auburn. I was 25, 26, 27 years old. So I was like this young associate, a professor of theater, but then still doing like equity parts at the Shakespeare Festival.
Yeah.
So I thought I was heading straight for like an academic life. And I even started to work on a PhD. That's what I was going to do. And I thought I can have this life down here. I can be a professional actor and do these great shows, and I can teach a little bit. And I've been a singer and a guitar player for a long time. So my night fun was just playing in rock clubs and in coffee houses all around. Like, I was in Montgomery, Alabama. So yeah, so I had this kind of life. And then when I was about 28, my ex-wife, I just said, I want to give New York a shot. I had this before I'm 30, I have to try one of the big markets. So we took a U-Haul, drove through North Carolina. Actually, we bottomed out in Charlotte. My ex-wife
Oh
is
my.
actually from Charlotte, so we spent a good amount of time in North Carolina. And I got to New York. This was August of '96, and first week I was there, we were subletting a place in Queens, and the show had just opened, and it was, the Hamilton of its time.
Yep.
A friend and I stood in line for those $20 front row seats all night, got in, and I had this experience that I've never had before or since with Rent. Because I'm a pretty neurotic guy. But I sat in the front row of that show, and I watched it, and within like 15 minutes, I just said I could do that. I've never had it before or since. It seemed to, because I've been just belting out like rock and roll songs in these clubs at night. I was a trained singer, but not really a musical theater guy. And then I had all this, and here the show happened, and I thought I looked a little bit like Adam, and I knew that I could sing. I'm like, I'm one of these two guys. I'm not sure which one. So that was like, oh, if I can get into this. And I was starting to talk to a couple of agents, but they were like, oh, hi, you're from Alabama. Let us know when you're in something, that type of a thing. So I had no representation. So a couple of weeks later, a friend of mine was doing an off-Broadway play, and they had to raise some money, and they had like a little talent night to bring some money. Would you bring your guitar? He asked me, play a couple of songs. I did. Chris Bono, who is from the great publicist office, Bono, Brown, and I forget what they were called.
Brian Brown.
Yeah, that's it. Came up to me afterwards, and he was like, will you please call Burn Tulsi tomorrow? Have you heard of the Broadway show Rent? I was like, I just saw it. I think I'm really right for it. He goes, I think you're really right for it. I know for a fact that they have lost their main alternate for Roger. That original cast was really falling apart because they had the Tonys and the album, and it was such a huge hit.
Yeah.
Adam Piscall had Lyme's disease, and Anthony Rapp's mother was really ill with cancer, and there was so much stress on them as a young company. So I land in New York right when this track is like, we need a guy who can cover Mark and Roger immediately. And so I got kind of fast tracked and got to see Bernie in just a couple of days. Sang for him, and then I sang for the different producers. I think I did like 4 callbacks, and they really rushed them. They were like, "Don't go anywhere," because I was like a guy with this like acting resume, but then I could come in with my guitar and sing Cheap Trick, and they were like, "That's kind of exactly what we need." Yeah. So I got really, really lucky. So like 6 weeks after arriving in New York, I get offered the biggest, most successful Broadway show of the second half of the 19th, 20th century.
The last decade of the century. That is such a nutty story, and I do remember you telling me
and
that
everything sort of came from there, Lauren. Like,
of course,
my first agent, she saw my second performance. Once I was cast in the show, I had 4 days of rehearsal before I performed Roger on a Wednesday night. I met Daphne Rubin Vega 30 minutes before I did the show with her. And then stayed with the show for almost 2 years. I understudied and then took over the lead role, and then everything sort of came from there.
Norbert,
and then my career did this fast pass to musicals, which I was completely untrained to do. It's like I knew I could sing, I knew I could dance, I knew I could act, and yet I had no experience doing musicals. So it was kind of this weird way.
I remember that when we were doing the last 5 years, you always made that comment like, "Oh, I'm not really a singer, I'm not really a singer," but then you'd bring out your guitar and you'd sing like a bird, and you were amazing. You were such an amazing singer. So I do remember that you had that sort of concept of yourself, but then to have made this amazing career as a Tony Award winning musical theater performer it's not so. But so let's skip to the next show, which was the last 5 years. Well, I'll just go ahead and say it was. And there I am with you. That's us. I got to do with you at Northlight. I know,
I'm sorry, we're cute. We're
so cute. Look at us, we're really
so
cute. That was opening night at Northlight Theater
Lauren,
in Chicago.
Yeah. That full-throated laugh with your head back like that, that's you. You just have so much joy on stage.
Oh, we had so much fun. I loved doing that show so much. And I just remember, actually, to take it back to Rent for a second, when we were rehearsing, I had never seen Rent ever. And by the way, to this day, the only time I've ever even seen part of it was that you walked me in and we sat at the soundboard one night and watched like the end of the first act, and that's all I've ever seen of Rent ever in my life.
Oh
never
my
auditioned for it,
God.
never saw it. I mean, for it to be a cultural phenomenon, like I have zero concept. I know, it's crazy. But your career is so massive. We have so many things to talk about. You did Thou Shalt Not, of course, after we did Last 5 Years. You were nominated for a Tony for that role. There you are. Look at you. Just giving bedroom eyes and biceps.
Just bedroom eyes, yeah.
I just remember too, when we were doing Last 5 Years, you had already booked Thou Shalt Not, and you were like, "Oh, I hope this works out, that I can do this show when it comes in to New York." I just remember thinking, "Oh, I'm so glad that I don't have anything else that would conflict with doing the Last 5 Years. That's all I care about doing is this show." And then, of course, I booked South Pacific in London and ended up taking it and not doing it in New York.
Yeah.
So there you go. Sherry Renee Scott did it in New York with you off Broadway.
Yeah.
Then you started doing a few plays. You did Is He Dead, where you were Mark Twain, which is why I'm loving the fact that you're reading to your daughter, Mark Twain. And
that's so beautiful. I mean, come on.
I mean,
gorgeous.
You're a lovely lady. Just
well, a handsome
that waistline. And then, of course,
can I tell you something about that?
Yes, too. Tell me.
I thought I had so much fun doing Is He Dead? It was this really interesting project, this old Mark Twain play that was found in a drawer like in the early 1990s and was rewritten by David Ives. It was basically kind of an early version of Where's Charlie, kind of that late 1800s type of melodramatic kind of comedy. I thought I was so beautiful. It was so important to me to try to look pretty as Daisy. I tried so hard, but with here's the thing: when you got deep set eyes, you can't pull off a woman. You
No,
can't.
you can't.
You know,
Nope.
like if you got doe eyes, you can
Yeah.
do it beautifully. But
Yeah.
it's like, remember Patrick Swayze when he did To Wu
When he did
Fong, and you're
Priscilla,
like,
yes. Oh, it was Tu
Priscilla,
Wong Fu
yeah.
is what he did.
That's
I
how
can't
I
remember.
am.
You are adorable, by the
It's the
way.
deep set eyes.
You look
Uh,
like Dainty June or something. I mean, you look
they
with the
called me Bo.
ringlets.
No, they
Bo
called me.
Peep.
You know what? I came out for costume parade, and somebody called me Bovine Betty, and that just hurt
Oh,
my feelings so much. Just I was like, mm-mm, mm-mm.
I hope it wasn't
And
Michael
then
McGraw who was in
to
that
have
picture
even
with
just
you.
an inkling of the body shaming that women go through, to have received that for a couple of weeks was really interesting, actually.
Thank you. I'm actually really glad to hear you say that. Most men need to go through that because it's rough out there to be a woman. At
I
least
went through it.
you did have a corset though to give you some help. Okay, let's also talk a little bit about Dirty Rotten
Yeah, man.
Scoundrels, which you also, well, you won your first Tony
Oh my
for. There you
gosh.
are with John Lithgow. That is just such awesome,
Yeah.
like, that musical was nuts. It was so good. It was so high octane and so incredible, and you were so
Yeah.
zany and ridiculous. I'm not really sure anybody had ever seen something like you, before you hit the scene. Is that crazy to say?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Well, I just feel like nobody had really seen something like Norbert Leo Butz on stage until there was
Uh,
you. But your fearlessness, your bravery, your zany qualities,
mm,
it was just a new way to address being an actor and a musical theater actor that I think really changed the landscape of how people perform now. I'm giving you a lot of credit.
Holy cow! Well, I think you're
It's
giving me
true though.
far too much credit.
No.
And I don't really know how to say to respond to that, except to say that you know we were talking before about my singing voice. Like, I always knew I could sing, and when I was a kid, actually, I was kind of being not groomed, but supported about being a singer. I was a really shy kid, and I did not like performing. I loved to sing, but we were like a church going family, and I would just always be the one that would, like, in choir. Went to Catholic school. Our music teacher or the organist would always make me sing the solo. When I got into high school, I would try to, like, not sing, but like I tried out for the musical and sang, and the choir teacher was like, "You're getting in show choir next year." So I was always told that I could do it, and then sort of followed it.
Hmm.
First time I ever sang for my family, like, we all sang. There were always guitars and pianos around the house, but I think I was 13 or 14 years old, and my oldest brother plays guitar, and he had this side hustle of kind of doing weddings and funerals. We're always in church. And he started asking me to come and play a little piano, sing with him, and always be trying to push me to do the solos. And I'm like, no, no, no. He's 10 years older than me. And a cousin of ours was getting married, and he said, "I want you to sing this song." And I said, I can't. But we were up in a choir loft behind everybody. And he said, "Nobody will see you." So my parents were coming, all my siblings were coming, and I said, "I'm singing this solo," and I did it. And after the mass, my mom and dad came up to me and they said, "Oh, we're so sorry they cut your solo." And I said, "What do you mean?" They said they had Stan singing the solo. They didn't cut. I said, "That, Mom, that was me." And it was this real game changer for me, because my parents looked at me like, "What?" And my oldest brother was like, so I sort of had to be told that I
Hmm.
could do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Um, and then through my high school teacher, she called my parents and said he should really be studying privately. I got a private teacher. I started doing, like, the art songs and learning things in
Hmm.
German and getting into state choir and doing vocal competitions. Not really musical theater. I mean, I did
Mm.
some of the musicals in high school, but it wasn't where my heart was. I was
Right.
getting really into classical music and really getting into art songs and those types of things. I always thought musicals
That's.
was, I was one of those people who are like, why are they singing? So
The
I knew I
suspension of
had it,
disbelief, yeah.
but and in fact, I thought I would be a music major in college at first before I switched to acting. Um, So, so to answer your point about how I've done it, I sort of had all the skills, I think, to do musical theater, but came about it from kind of a different way, and maybe that made it seem it seemed like a new take on it. Yeah.
It's so fresh. I mean, really, just so irreverent and fresh and fearless.
That
That's
show
sort of
gave
what
us all
I.
permission. I mean,
Yeah.
that show was, yeah, it was the most liberating kind of farce. You couldn't go too far with it.
No, that's
And I
so
tried,
fun. But
trust
not
me.
everybody can do that. But then you've done a lot of plays as well. You were in Enron, of course. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
You were in and won another Tony for Catch Me If You Can. I'm going to speed through these now. You were in Big Fish and Dead Accounts. And of course, you have sort of pivoted to TV and film. Of course, Bloodline, hello. Everybody loves Bloodline. And Fosse Verdon, which was also a really fun limited series last year. And My Fair
Oh,
Lady, of
thank
course, you got
you.
another Tony nomination. You are rich with nominations. Look, you're flying. Look at you, feet off the floor.
I know. I love that shot. I'm literally off my feet. I just love that shot. It's as if I'm being hoisted up by the court by those fabulous women.
Elevated by the ladies. It's
So
awesome.
funny.
Well,
I
I
think,
mean,
we were
go ahead.
your theater. You're producing at a regional theater, and Lauren, I came up through regional theater too. So I did my undergrad at Webster University.
Yeah.
Webster University shares a space with the Repertoire Theater of St. Louis. Though I went to see plays there when I was a kid, I went to college there. I was so lucky when I was in college there that the artistic director, Steve Wolf, actually petitioned for me to get my equity card. He put me in 2 equity shows there while I was student at Webster in young roles, like juvenile roles. And then I went from there down to the Shakespeare Festival. And you know as well as I, when you're doing regional theater, especially in rotating rep, summer stock, I think why I've done a kind of a variety of things is because you do get trained to kind of do it all. That's
Yeah.
in Rent too. I played Mark, I played Roger, I played Squeegee Man, I played Gordon, I played every male that was, not Latino or African American. I
Yeah.
played, and I think that just, again, it's that ethos of just sort of working in the regional theater where you're kind of, you put together a season like you're putting together, and you've got your review show, you've got a serious contemporary play, you do a language-based play, and you got a core of actors, group, and you're getting it all from there. So just to be that kind of flexibility, think comes from me, from being trained in regional theater.
And I think that's really why I was drawn back to North Carolina, is because I too had that experience in this area and wanted to offer it to people who were coming up, because I do see that it's so invaluable. And there's also a kind of the pressure's off when you're outside the intense
Totally.
New York scene, that sort of large market, that I felt like more and more the best work I was even doing as an actress, as I was going to other regional theaters around the country, was not in New York. It was in regional theaters. It was, doing new
100%.
shows, tryouts. Yeah, so I just, I really fell in love with this way of telling stories and this sort of scale of telling stories. So at Theater Raleigh, we do very small adaptations of shows. So even like, for instance, we did Big Fish here at Theater Raleigh, but we condensed the cast.
I know.
It was in a small
I remember when you
130
did.
seat. Yeah, so I just, it's really
I
fun.
saw excerpts from it,
It was good.
and it was so great that how minimal you guys made that show, and it was all it needed, you know.
Well, it was interesting because we're going to show a video of you a little bit later in Big Fish, and I look at that. I've been looking at it. It's so gorgeous. It's so beautiful to look at, and I kind of was like, oh, I was so kind of jealous about that. It's just stunning to look at. But I do think that what we were able to accomplish in our production, there was like magic in the fact that it was sort of crafted in front of the audience's eyes. So instead of like 1,000 daffodils on stage, we had like yellow festoon lights and like a few bouquets around, you know, and it just seemed like he was making something amazing out of something that was just ordinary. And that's kind of who Edward Bloom was. It was neat.
Absolutely. I think that huge design was to a detriment to the show. And I think that before you had said something about having that freedom of not being under in a fishbowl or not being under the expectations of a New York audience. That is so key for me. I've become, I mean, this is kind of a whole other thing, but I think, more cautious and self-conscious in my career. I think because when I started, that fearlessness or whatever you call it, to me, that's just working so much in regional theater. It was just the joy of the work itself and the exploration of the work itself. Like, you know, doing a play at Theater Raleigh or in St. Louis or one of these other places, you know, I would be naive to think somebody would be in the audience that was going to, like, I don't know, get me a film role from that. It's not going to happen. So when that's off the table, you can just go, man, let's just dive right into this and just rip it apart and just have a ball with it.
Yeah.
And that lack of inhibition, I learned in my teens and all through my 20s, doing a lot of plays all around the country.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is spot on. So talk to me a little bit about when you did Catch Me If You Can, how were you able to create that kind of a role when it was so synonymous with the movie and Tom Hanks' performance, and also was based on a real person? Do you, as an actor, do you create your characters? Do you watch other people? Did you do a lot of research, or did you sort of wing it?
No, I don't ever wing it. That's never a good idea. I work
Good
really
answer.
hard. You know, here's the thing about both Dirty Rotten, which was also a musical adaptation from a movie, and Catch Me If You Can, and Big Fish. You know, I've done a lot of them.
Yeah.
What's good about all three of them is none of them were on my radar. Like, none of them, except for maybe Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which I did see when I was in college and thought was absolutely. The other two films totally went under the radar for me. I had no iconic images of Tom Hanks. They were nowhere in my consciousness. So when I first got, like, for Catch Me If You Can, the script from Jack saying, hey, you want to join us for this reading? You might be a little too young for this part, but I think it could be a real blast. See what you think. And this is the kind of the magical thing about what we do, and I can't explain it, and it's a little woo-woo, but I was in LA working on some pilot, or I don't even remember what, and I got that script, and Catch Me If You Can. Yeah, I remembered it was a Tom Hanks film. I think I saw it. I couldn't even really remember. Well, the day I got it, my dad, who since passed away, was undergoing a really intense surgery to have some cancer cells removed from his throat. His heart wasn't in great shape. He was literally under the knife. I get this script at my hotel or whatever. I go to a cafe, I start reading it, and this story about this kind of kid, this true story about this young man, brilliant young man, who is brokenhearted over the divorce of his parents, creates this to deal with that trauma, creates this life as a con artist and a kind of fabulist to fill this hole of a father that he is losing. His father's an alcoholic. And then you've got this lonely FBI agent who has no children. You can't help but think he'd always wanted kids, trying to save this kid from himself. So these themes of masculinity, manhood, fathers and sons, I'm reading it and I'm sobbing, like I'm weeping at this musical comedy in a diner, like trying not to let anyone see it. And for me, when I read something and that happens, I just follow that. Like, same thing happened with Last 5 Years. I just follow that. I don't intellectualize it at all. And so if that's my starting place, that really strong emotional impulse, I never needed to see the movie. It was all there in the script. I didn't see the movie. it wouldn't have helped me. I did read all of, obviously, Frank Abagnale's, his memoir, everything I needed to know. And some of those, that happened with Big Fish, and that happened with the material affected me independently of any other iteration of it.
That's awesome. That really is so interesting to hear how emotionally you respond. Because, one of my questions would have been, did you get this role and think, oh my God, like I'm born to play this. This is perfect for me. This is my Tony Award winning role. But it's almost more compelling to hear that you just had a visceral and emotional response to it and followed that. I love that.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So
the character
you're
reminded me of my
yeah.
dad.
Oh yeah, totally.
I could hear my father literally as Carl.
Oh. Well, I loved your dad.
Yeah, and it was
a lot of time with your dad.
I know. So the whole look of him, from the mustache, I had them build me a little gut. The way he kind of waddled with the stiff joints, the hip pain, the bad eyesight. My brothers and sisters looked at that show and wept all the way through it, because they're like, "Oh my God, you're doing dad, you're doing dad, you're doing dad."
That's so sweet. But could your dad dance like that?
My dad was a great dancer.
I bet he was.
And was a train dancer when he was a kid, actually.
That's crazy. Are you kidding me?
100%. He performed at the Muni as a child.
I knew you were going to say that he performed at the Muni.
Yep.
That is so funny. He was like a Muni kid.
He was. My grandmother had put him in ballet. His name was Norbert Butz, just like mine.
I know.
And as if he wasn't getting his ass kicked enough for his name, now he's in ballet.
Awesome.
So my dad ended up becoming like a football player and a Marine and like a super, super, super like prototypical kind of male, I think, in retaliation for the ballet.
Oh my God. Your dad was definitely a lover of the theater, though. As a matter of fact, when I worked at the Muni, he came to see me there. So sweet.
I know, that's right.
Just the sweetest
that's
man
so
on the
right,
planet
Lauren.
Earth. There he is. There's your dad.
Oh,
your dad and your mom.
I didn't know that was going to come up.
And your gorgeous wife. What a beautiful family. Okay. So, yeah. No, I loved both your parents. We got to spend a lot of time with them up in Chicago. They came and supported you up there.
I didn't know you were going to make me cry. My God.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'm not trying to Katie Couric or anything.
No, I love seeing pictures of my dad.
Well, you guys had a really special relationship, and I imagine that it comes up for you over and over again, because also Big Fish has a lot to do thematically with fathers and
forget
that.
about it.
Yeah, forget about it. Norbert, though, back to acting just for a second. You have been quoted to say that you don't really like to spend too much time around the table. You just want to get up and do it. What is the process for you? Is it less that you're intellectual and more that you just have to do it? You have to feel it in your body? What's that?
That's a really interesting question. I think that it's not that I don't like to do script analysis and script work. I feel really strongly that you do it in proportion to its helpfulness. I do it. I've been in a lot of processes where sometimes, here's the thing, we show up on our first day of rehearsal. You know this as an actor, and you've directed a lot now too, Lauren. It's like everyone is freaking terrified to begin. You open the page and the first, no one wants to do it. Nobody wants to start. Nobody wants to. You're like, it's first preview. Nobody wants to get out there. Like, it's so scary. And so what I think happens sometimes in rehearsals is that people, when they start to analyze a script and talk about it and really get into it and have long discussions, a lot of times it's just to put off the inevitable, which is, what, we really do have to stand up and you do these scenes in front of each other and the director and maybe be really sucky for a long time and look like a-holes. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
And taking that first step, the way I see it, when it's the appropriate time, I'm not saying that there's not script analysis and research to be done, but when it's appropriate, you start moving. Because for me, I get trapped in my head when I intellectualize things too much. I get really trapped in my head, and I always think for the actor, the first impulse, this is really true in TV and film, is oftentimes the best one. The one that comes as true reaction to what the other actor is doing or to what the words are doing, not to a cerebral idea that you're trying to pre-plan.
That's so interesting. And is that, do you think, part of the reason that for TV and film you don't do as much rehearsal?
Yeah, it's not, the rehearsal's not, for most projects, it's just not budgeted into it. It's just not budgeted. But that's a bit of a misconception I'm finding out. People say, oh, there's no rehearsal time. Well, you know what? There's actually hours and hours and hours and hours of rehearsal time before you get there. You can be incredibly well prepared. You can continue to read. Actors don't have to wait for a film director to say, oh, we're not going to. I'm shooting a scene tomorrow with a woman playing my wife on this television show. I've never met her before. We were on a Zoom meeting, kind of like going everything that we want to talk, introducing it to each other, talking about the scene, kind of breaking the ice a little bit, sharing ideas about what it's about. You know, we didn't run the lines. It's just 2 pages of dialogue. We're both going to know the lines. Tomorrow we're not going to, because of COVID, obviously, we're not going to have the chance to sit together and like bat it back and forth. They keep us in our trailers until right before we go. We have face masks on until right before they say action. We're not going to get that. But it doesn't mean that I can't rehearse or prepare. You really, really can.
Oh, that's so good. That's great to hear. That's actually something I've never heard anybody say.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a misconception. It's true that you're not going to get the exploration process with the director and the cinematographer or the other actors. That people are coming from too many different places, but that doesn't mean that you go in without really being prepared and feeling really ready to go. Yeah.
Well, so I want to talk a little bit about your film and TV career because, well, first of all, I want to talk about Bloodline because Bloodline was one of my favorite shows of the last sort of, I don't know, probably 10 years. I loved it so much. My husband and I were huge fans. We even like geeked out. We saw Ben Mendelsohn at like the Fairway or something in New York and went out of our minds. But anyway, I loved the whole show. I loved all the actors on it, and you were so spectacular on it. What was it like to write a show? And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it just like a 10-episode limited series? Or did you always know you were going to have 2 seasons? I guess where I'm going is, my question is, like, if they're writing dialogue and these characters' trajectories over time, how do you sort of keep up with where the writers are and how your character is maybe potentially changing in real time? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, it was unlike an experience I'd ever had before. I had done guest spots on TV and stuff. And even done like a couple of 1-season series, but I hadn't been, and definitely hadn't worked for Netflix before. I think I opened myself up to the possibility of doing a show like Netflix after Big Fish kind of crashed and burned. I was like, I really need to take a break from the stage. My body was so wrecked. I've had knee surgeries and neck surgeries and all, I'm like, I'm tired. So I started actually intentionally kind of turning down theater work for a while. And then this came up. I knew that these guys had done Damages, and Glenn Close, from, yes, you guys are buds, and I've known Glenn too. And Sunset Boulevard, right. I met her and a friend of ours connected us, and I was like, tell me about this process, because the guys that created Bloodline also created this show called Damages that she did. And they work in a really unique way. It's a very naughty way. They keep almost everything from the actors, almost everything. So you're getting scenes and scripts like the day before you shoot. And in fact, because there's 3 of them, they haven't even totally agreed on how a scene should end. So you might film alternate versions of an ending. They say, okay, we want to shoot again, and I want you to leave this speech out. They really do go there kind of organically. And at first, it's really scary. And Glenn told me it can be really scary, but she ended up loving it. And so did I. I really loved my experience on that show. I learned so much. It was the most time I'd really spent in front of a camera. So just learning some of the basic skills, and getting used to the waiting and all of it.
Well, I mean,
but
was
there's a freedom.
There to make sure there was continuity, though?
Yeah. I mean, it was maddening. You'd go to the writers and say, in other words, like, we shot the pilot and I'm playing this kind of beer drinking party guy. And then I get a script and says, the next scene I'm going to shoot, I am lying naked and bloody with a gun in my hand and a pile of cocaine next to me. And we're going to shoot that tomorrow. You want to tell me how I get there? Well, there could be several avenues till you get there. You don't know. And it drove a lot of actors really, really crazy, because this whole idea that I'm going to create an arc, I want to know where this character is coming, that went out the window for this project, out the window. And I grew to love it because you just submit to the not knowingness of it. And it's like every scene you're given to shoot is its own little mini movie. It's its own beginning, middle, and end. It's its own one-act little play. I don't need to know what comes.
Cool.
And it
sounds amazing to me. It sounds like
it's a big leap of faith.
Ever.
It's a big leap of faith. It was really fun once you let go of the control that you think you have over it, and you just show up. Then a kind of sense starts to happen. And the genius part of what they were doing, in retrospect, is I never know what's coming. I never know what I'm going to have to deal with. Well, guess what? That's what this family is living through day in and day out and day in and day out. Totally. They don't know their heads. They don't know their heads from their asses. Like, these are the worst criminals in the world. Like, the guy I played was the worst guy to perform like fratricide and become a drug dealer. Like, the worst person to do that.
Seriously?
So for me to not know about any of this and to look like I'm just a flailing mess of a human is the character.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting, I didn't know that until the edit, until it's all over. And it could be maddening because I think a lot of, as actors, we want that control. I think some of it's fear, some of it's vanity. I need control of where this is going. I need to know so I can make my choices and do this. And they're saying, you can make all the choices. You can have all the freedom you want, but we're just going to give you these boundaries.
I love it. And then we're going to piece it together, and you get to watch it with everybody else and find out what happens.
It's 100% true, Lauren. I had no idea where the show was going because, of course, these other storylines, we wouldn't even get full scripts. You know, we would just get kind of our sections sometimes. So
I'm obsessed with that. I love it so much.
I would try to watch Bloodline, and I had no idea what was going on. No idea what was going on.
You can enjoy it just like us.
Yeah. Well, of course, I can't stand to look at myself, so I couldn't enjoy it. But, you know, in theory.
Oh my gosh, Norbert, I love that. That is a great story. I didn't even know that was going to be such an amazing story. That was like, you know, letting go of control on steroids. Okay, I'm going to show a video now. It has nothing to do with Bloodline, has nothing to do with anything we've talked about, but I just wanted to show everybody the one song that you got to sing that was cut from the last 5 years, but you sang it when we did our production at Northlight Theater. You guys, this is Norbert Leo Butz singing, "I Could Be in Love with Someone Like You."
My first crush on an Irish girl, I was 10 years old and her name was Elaine. A little redhead girl, well, she looked like you, but if you were 10, which you're clearly not that you look old, but you get I'll just stop now. Okay, wait, cause I had a point, no, I swear I did, well, I think I did, which is all my life, for since I was 10, I have had a yen for an Irish lass. because God knows why, like the ancient curse of the Shiksa Queens. Do I talk too much? Which is now take me to another level. Let me play bigger halls. I will do a river dance as long as you keep answering my calls. Get me out of my apartment. Keep me from my empty walls. Someone hire John McCormick. Start the wearing of the green. Let me win the Irish sweepstakes. Let me take you home, Kathleen. I can be in love with someone. I can be in love with someone. I can be in love with someone. Like, yeah.
Okay, I made you watch yourself. Sorry. Head in hand. Oh, it's so good, Norbert. If you could only see yourself the way we see you. Okay, I want to bring out some students now. Well, not all students, but all aspiring actors. Because part of the mission of this show is to sort of educate people on sort of what goes into what we do as a craft, and you have really done that tonight. It's been so enlightening and interesting, and I thought it would be really cool to have aspiring actors get to talk to you personally and ask their questions.
Yay.
So I know, right? So let's bring out our first participant.
So sweet.
I know, Jason Koch. Jason, hi, Jason.
Hi.
I'm so happy to
Hey,
see your
Jason.
face. Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you both. Lauren, thank you for the opportunity. And Mr. Butz, sir, it is a pleasure. I'm so excited. So thank you. But yes, I'm Jason Koch. I'm a senior. I live in Portage, Michigan. I'm still in high school. But I've recently been applying to musical theater schools for the past few months. Auditions are coming up this year. And yeah, I've always loved theater. My parents co-founded Farmers Alley Theater. It's Kalamazoo, Michigan's only year-round professional theater, and so I've kind of grown up around that. It's my second home, and my whole family is just kind of all about it. I've recently developed a hobby of composing my own music. So it's all surrounded with theater and music and just everything about it. So I kind of eat, sleep, and breathe it. Oh yes, I see the keyboard. Perfect. Yeah. But it's just my whole life and my whole passion. So this just is thrilling. It's very exciting.
Do you have a question you want to ask Norbert?
Yes, I do. I have a question regarding acting and getting into a character. What are some exercises you do or tips you have for digging into a character that you just recently got, or maybe a scene you have to record in 2 days? What are some of the things that you do to really prepare for that, make it as raw or natural as possible? Where do you go?
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you, Jason. I just have to say this. I was the same as you. By the time I was really bitten with the theater bug, when I was a junior in high school, I played the stage manager in Our Town. I was Sky Masterson in Guys and Dolls. I was Pappy Yoakum. I was Pappy Yoakum in Little Abner. I got bit by the bug really bad, and I felt the same as you, Jason. I had this overwhelming feeling that I just have to do this, and in my family, I had to kind of really keep it a secret. My parents were not. It sounds like your parents are theater people. My parents were not. They were like, theater, what? That's ridiculous. So right. I was kind of a closeted actor, actually. In fact, even when I was in high school, I had to lie to my parents about when I would get cast in a show because they would only allow me to do like one theater thing a year because of grades and sports or whatever. And so I would lie and get cast in shows and go to so to see somebody who's just so like, I'm on fire for this. I felt the exact same way. When you're preparing for a part, there's a couple of different scenarios. If it's a part that that you're going to have a proper rehearsal for, like a process. Everything comes from that script. So you're going to go through that script and you're going to go over it and over it and over it. And you're going to look at every single thing that is said about that character. What I do when I start working on something is I make 2 lists. I write everything in a list that I have in common with the character. We're both male, we're about the same age, we're both Caucasian, maybe we're both dads, maybe we're both actors. And then on the other side of the list goes everything that we're not. Maybe he's a murderer. Maybe he's the vice president of the United States. Maybe he's a bank robber. Maybe he's a priest. All of these things that are different. And then it becomes a game of kind of trying to connect dots. What do I have? What overlaps with this guy? And what do I need to kind of bridge that gap? So then especially for roles that seem really far away from you, like I'm playing a really violent person. I'm actually not a violent person. I'm actually terrified of violence, but there are some things that make me so angry. I've actually been told I have some type of problem with anger. And I can think about those times, and I could think about, I have had a feeling where I could physically hurt someone because of this situation. And then I'll start to draw those parallels to the character, right? So I have to be honest, I don't use the word character a lot. And I don't think in terms of, I'm going to play this character. I'm it. What I got here and here, that's what I got to use to make you believe I am this character.
Right.
So if acting is living in imaginary circumstances in real time, I'm going to find the most believable way to do that. I have to believe what I'm doing. But if it's like you said, an audition where you have a really small period of time, that can be almost more exciting. You only have a few lines. You don't have a lot, because with that, you get to invent all the stuff you don't know about it, right? You get to fill in all those blanks. Right? I don't quite know what this person does for a living. I don't quite know. I'm going to make them this because that's something I can really, you're a musician and I'm a musician, right? This person is intense about their job the way I'm intense about music. It's called substitution. And I do a lot of that when I work. I don't think I'm becoming a character. I think I substitute a lot of what it would be like to live in the circumstances that character is living in through what I've been through. I think it's really crucial for the actor to bring their own experience to the character.
Totally.
That's how I feel about it. And prepare. I am not one of those people who can go into an audition and, like Lauren said, like wing it. Sometimes you have almost no time. There's not much you can do in those situations. You do the best you can. But if you do have time, be reading that script and those lines 24/7 until they're so deep in you that no matter what happens in that audition, somebody honks a horn, the director's asleep on the other side of the table, you're not feeling well that day. There's going to be so many things that could get in the way of you doing your best work. But if those lines and what you want to do with them are right at your fingertips, no one's going to see that. You're going to go toward what you wanted to do, and it'll save you. Actually, preparedness will save you when something goes wrong, and something is always going to go wrong.
Oh yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
That is awesome advice.
It was great to talk to you, though.
So Jason, you compose too. You're a writer as well.
Yeah, newly, starting, trying to test some things out. But yeah, I had started by actually arranging my own a cappella covers of certain songs. I'd get inspiration from a well-known a cappella group and I'd layer myself. But then I decided to write my own things, some instrumental things, but it's definitely steeped in the musical theater style that I am surrounded by.
Well, that's awesome that you're keeping
so
yourself
cool.
creative.
I do
no
something very similar.
Awesome.
I still do that, Jason. I still do that. I have my guitar and my piano, even if I'm traveling, I keep it. You're keeping what you're doing, and it's a pretentious word people say, but you're keeping your instrument honed. Yeah. Keeping your instrument honed. you can't get an audition and go and sing for Les Mis or last 5 years if you have not been singing consistently, right? You can't take a 6-week break from singing and then try and go in and do a Jason Robert Brown. So what you're doing, so I think of rehearsing, finding arrangements of songs, sitting at my piano, belting my face off, trying to remember exercise. What you're doing is going to the gym. You're going to the gym creatively. And you must
Norbert,
always
you are
do that.
such a good influence on young artists. I love hearing this. This is so.
No, you
this
must
is awesome.
always do it.
It's incredible.
Because it'll also save your ass when you're not in a show and you don't get the part and you are between things, so that you don't go, I suck, I suck, I suck. You know, I have this friend that says all roads lead to I suck. As actors, I think a lot of us share that. How do we deal with that? We sit down and we sing a song that we have always loved. And we put our headphones on and we feel the vibrations in our body. And, oh, right, I love this. I love this, whether somebody says I'm no good at it or not.
That is great, because it helps you keep the awe, you know, and the love for it. Jason, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God, of course. And if anybody's watching tonight who wants to check out Farmers Alley Theater, they do incredible stuff. The theater is awesome, run by Jeremy and Deneen Muley-Koch. You should check them out. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Please tell your parents hello, and I love them. His mom was my best friend in college. You guys, I'm so glad I got to see you, Jason. And,
thank you.
Best of luck with your college auditions. If you get great schools, maybe it'll be because
of go get him, Jason.
Yes, thank you so much. I will make sure to add to my resume that I now personally know Norbert Leo Butz.
Absolutely. Conversations with
you're
Norbert
welcome.
Butz. Absolutely.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you,
Jason.
Have a lovely night. Thank you.
Okay, and then next up we have, let's bring out Melvin Gray Jr. Melvin's here with us tonight.
Hey guys, hey.
It's nice to see you.
Hey,
Melvin, this is Norbert, Melvin.
Hey, nice to meet you, Norbert.
So
I know
nice
you, Melvin,
to meet
but
you
why don't
too,
you tell Norbert a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, totally. So I'm an actor here in Raleigh, North Carolina. I actually didn't start acting until like my sophomore year of college. I initially was going to school to be a pediatrician, a doctor. That is what I was going to do. And then sophomore year of college, I had a friend who was like, you're a really, really good singer. You should try musical theater. And I was like, okay. And so I did, and like fell in love with it. And Lauren has kind of been there since the beginning. Like her theater company, I auditioned, I think it was like 2013, 2014.
Yeah, 13.
And like, you've seen me from the very beginning. I was very timid.
Watched you grow up, Melvin.
Yeah, so I'm a very, very different performer than I was then. So it's you know, I'm grateful to have you, Lauren, in your theater company, and you know, creating opportunities like these and meeting people like Norbert. It's really amazing.
What do you want to ask Norbert? Do you have any questions?
She's cool.
Yeah,
Lauren is good. Lauren's cool.
She's super cool. No, but my question is, so I've been doing theater for a minute, but I've started to kind of dip my toes into the film industry in like the past 2 or 3 years. And so I've had the opportunity to be a part of some really, really cool film projects. But something that I always run into is kind of shutting off the theater brain. And when people told me before doing it, they were like, know that it's different. It's different. You don't have to play to the balcony. It's very, very intimate. I was like, yeah, totally. I got that. No problem. And I remember the first take of a web series I was doing, the director was super, super nice. And he comes up to me, he says, okay, Melvin, that is really great what you're doing. But you don't have to play so big. And I was like, oh crap, that is what people were talking about. So
they did it to me too. They did it to me too, Melvin. It's okay.
Yeah.
Trust me, I was way bigger than you.
So, but mainly my question is, you know, what was your process of trying to figure out how to phrase it, how to kind of shut it off, like that switch from theater brain to film brain? Because I'm figuring it out slowly, but you know, if there are any like tips and tricks that you had to figure out about how to go about that.
Wow. You've just like brought up such a huge conversation, and it's really important. And and I'm asked to talk about it sometimes because I have done so much theater and so much musical theater. And I guess I'm learning that a lot of people who've done as much Broadway as I've done don't get to do a lot of TV. So I've been sort of been asked about this recently. I'm the same as you, the exact same as you. I was intimidated by it. I was miserable on most of TV or film experiences I had. Never quite knew what to do with myself. Was I being too loud? The camera, I just felt so self-conscious. It was a really steep learning curve. And so just to go through it, like you're starting to do, that uncomfortability is natural. Everybody, you're asking your body to change something. We're creatures of habit. It's very hard for us to, once we're like, I know what this feels like when I'm in front of an audience. How come I don't have this same feeling? So it's keeping yourself open. It's not supposed to be the same. It's not supposed to. And keeping yourself out of your head. Here's something that I've learned. And this is really tricky. On stage, I had a movement teacher, a dance and movement teacher, and she said something to me when I was very young in college. She said, the body doesn't lie on stage. So, and she's very right about that. It's kind of like watching a child or a dog. So, you know, when you're in an audience and an actor comes on stage and you're like, that actor's not comfortable in their body. Like, you see it immediately. It is what it is. The body doesn't lie. Somebody walks on stage, you're like, I don't think that's the character. I think that's the actor being whatever. The audience can read it. We're human animals. And in film, your body, everything is communicated through your eyes. So the camera really will pick up it, really will pick up anything.
Oh yeah.
That the eyes cannot lie. So it's this weird thing, Melvin, where it's like you can't be trying to do anything. You simply have to. And I don't think there is much difference between stage acting and acting on camera. People are like, oh, do these tricks with your voice. I don't think of it in terms of that. I think about it kind what's appropriate for the scene you're playing and the medium that you're playing. So if you're doing a film and talking to another actor in about the kind of voice I'm talking to you because you're right here, that's appropriate. What drives me crazy is when I started doing more TV, you have real TV actors and, you know, we have mics right here. On Bloodline, I would do scenes with actors and they'd be like, I'm like, I can't hear you. I can't hear them. I can't. Everybody's like, because now I'm going to do my real voice, right? I'm going to be a real TV actor.
Yeah.
And the other actor can't even hear you because the mic will get it and they'll do it in the post. Don't do that. That's as much putting on a TV voice as it is when you're like, now I'm in a musical and like, this is my theater voice. Try to get rid of those limitations of what those things are. We have to speak louder when we're in a theater, not to add some layer of falseness, because the people need to hear you, right? Because that's the space that we're in. I don't have to adjust my voice in a tricking way if I'm shooting a film and, you know, Kyle Chandler is a foot from my face. I don't have to. I just have to play the reality of the scene. The guy's right in front of me. I'm going to talk to someone like I talk to somebody who's right in front of me. Sometimes just following those simple things, do what's appropriate in the situation to go after what the character is going after.
That is just so.
And I think it's a misnomer too that you have to be small or keep it real on film. I think that's crap. And in a way, I think that film and TV can complement each other. You know, everyone says, be still, be still. The camera doesn't like any movement, but it's not true. The camera likes movement. There can be more movement in front of a camera, and there can actually be less movement on a great big Broadway stage. The two mediums can actually, you can learn important things about acting in the other medium from the other one. It's all about the truth. It's all about, do I believe what I'm saying? And is my scene partner, not the audience, don't worry about the audience, my scene partner. I'm trying to affect a change in the person I am speaking or persons I am speaking to. Just do that. Don't worry about theater voice, film voice, lighting here. You know, it's all fake. It's all pretend. You know what I mean? There is no real.
So simply and beautifully, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I
absolutely.
understand the struggle. I really understand the struggle. But the biggest challenge for me, honestly, Melvin, is theater is an actor's medium. Once the curtain rises, the actor is in total control of that next 2.5 hours. No matter how anal your director is or how many notes you're getting, that's your time. It's on you. Yeah. You are really in charge of the performance. Film and TV is a director's medium. They're really in charge of the performance and the editing of it. And so for film, I also think film actors get a bad rap from theater actors who think they can't really act, and it's not that way. A film actor is a sprinter. A theater actor is a distance runner. They both take tremendous concentration and skill and are equally gifted. There's no hierarchy of talent and who's better at this or which one is more noble. They're different strengths. In the theater, we're athletes. Our energy and our bodies and our voices have to last for 2 or 3 hours. You ask a film television actor to remember 2 hours of dialogue, a lot of them can't remember 4 lines of dialogue, and that's not to disparage them. That's because
just a different muscle.
Have the skill to be different muscle, extremely focused for a very short period of time, and the people who do it well are geniuses.
That was a great answer, and I feel
it really was. I've been sitting here just learning so much, and I'm just like soaking it in. I'm like, this is amazing. Thank you so much.
Norbert is very
You're
smart.
So welcome.
One of the most instinctual actors that I've ever met, but also obviously very well prepared, and you've studied and done both. So you're fine. Get over yourself.
What?
I'm going to make you watch another video of yourself in a minute, so stay awake.
Thank you again, Lauren.
Melvin, thank you so much. Okay, and we have Matt Schaefer is with us as well. Welcome to the show, Matt. Hi.
Hi there.
It's good to see you.
My name is Matt. I'm a junior at NYU Tisch School of the Arts right now. So I'm back at home in Raleigh right now.
You're home for holidays. Okay, cool.
We've been online for the semester. But I've been very lucky. My parents are super supportive, like Jason's, and they've been very accommodating because they obviously did not expect me to be back for this long. I've been trying to make the most of it. I'm a cellist and pianist, so I've been also learning how to play guitar. Taking dance lessons, singing lessons, trying to stay sharp while I'm back. But it's scary to be a theater student right now, and a theater artist as well with the industry in the state that it's in. And my question for you is, you've touched on it a little bit in the beginning, but transitioning from your educational world and going to school to the professional world, what kind of experience and advice do you have for someone like me who's about to enter that world? I know everyone's journey is different, and I'm getting a lot of info from my classes, obviously, but I would love to hear more about your perspective on it.
Oh, wow. Thanks so much, Matt. I can only speak from my experience. And my experience was this: whenever anybody asked me something about, I did not say no to a project, no matter where it was in the world, no matter how much money it paid. I did not say no to a job, even a free job, until I was about 40 years old. Okay. I went like a full 25 years by saying yes to everything, except of course if it, involves some sort of depraved act, which I still might have done. I don't know. And all I mean by that is, this is all I know, because I couldn't begin to speak to the challenges that your generation specifically is going through right now. You guys are going to be teaching us kind of a new, no, I mean this 100%, kind of new ways to do theater, new technologies to use in theater. You've already brought in all the issues of inclusivity and gender parity and racial parity in theater. That's coming from your guys' generation. So I don't want to even like assume to like preach to you to say like, I've got it. All I know is I said yes to everything. I felt like I didn't earn my time or my place to be judgmental of, I don't do that, or that's not my type, or that's not a role that I think I would be good at, or nothing. If it was offered to me and if somebody slightly ahead in this business than I said yes. And the only reason I think that sometimes I do meet young people and I do think it's because of the proliferation of social media, of the kind of culture of singing competitions that, there are other avenues to get your work seen and to get yourself out there that Lauren and my generation, we did not have. And so I think sometimes younger people say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait until I can get on this much bigger platform. And that may be true, but it was not my experience. I just said, I don't know shit. I don't know what I'm doing with anything. I have to just perform. I don't think you get to say no for like 20 years.
Right.
Barring some life. I'm not talking about like a specific life circumstance that allows you, or God, if you're lucky enough, I've already got a job, I can't take this other job. If you're lucky enough to have that experience. But what I'm saying is if you're waiting for an opportunity and opportunity comes that you deem beneath you, think about that really, really hard. You're just starting, right? You're just starting. And that's how I did it. Just one gig after the other, slowly. A ton of rejection, getting my ass kicked up and down 42nd Street, missing out on so many jobs, watching other people get way more successful than me, all of it. But that thing where you just go, I say yes, you'll find out where your no boundaries are. You'll come to those no boundaries and be like, no, that person is not a safe person. I say no. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about don't judge opportunities itself before you really get in and put your time in. That's all I can really say.
No, it's a great answer, and sounds like, Matt, you instinctually know that as well. Everybody's trajectory is different, and Norbert, I think that you make such a great point, because you can watch people's careers shoot up ahead of you, but doesn't mean that you're a failure. So you shouldn't also be gauging yourself on someone else's timeline.
That's the most important thing, Matt, I think I've learned in this business. Other people's success is not your failure. It's not. Yeah. Like Lauren was talking about Bloodline. That was the first television series regular I was on. I was 45 years old when that happened for me. You know what I mean? So
you talked about not even moving to New York till you were 28. Talk about being on a different
man, I'm like a late bloomer, dude. Yeah. I'm a late bloomer.
That's a great story.
I was busy. I didn't come to New York as long because I kept getting roles, really good parts in theaters like Raleigh. Yeah. I went to New York once I had a whole bunch of big parts in like Shakespeare plays and in like contemporary plays and in musicals, a couple of them, I came to New York with an arsenal of roles behind me. I know nobody in New York saw them, but they were in me. I knew that I could do really hard things. I was ready, Yeah,
you prepared yourself. Well, Matt, it sounds like you're preparing yourself too, 100%. And
I'm trying my best. Thank you so much. That was so helpful and useful, Mr. Butz. Thank you so much. And thank you, Lauren.
Keep going, Matt. And keep on practicing the guitar. Your fingers will hurt but you're a cellist.
Yeah, I'm starting to get the calluses. Yeah.
I like how he called you Mr. Butz. It's because you were a professor. I mean, you were a teacher anyway. So
I like it too. I wish more people would, Lauren.
Mr. Butz. Matt, it was great to see you. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
You as well. Have a great night.
Those were amazing answers. That is just so exciting.
I love
so
it.
glad that they got that chance to talk to you.
Well, thank you for giving me the chance to meet some young actors. I mean, what a gift! I'm up here in my little hovel in DC. This has been amazing.
Well, you know, it's interesting to hear you talk a little bit about how you got started and you had to be a sort of a closeted musical theater actor. You know, I'm not sure a lot of people know, but you came from a family of 11 children. And your wife was lovely enough to send us some pictures of you as a child that I'd love to see. Like, and then by the way, that's only 8. That's only 8 of the 11.
There's only 8 of us. I'm the second youngest. I'm in the red and white checkered in the front.
Oh, I recognize your face anywhere. Are you kidding me with that squish face, like going like this? You know, well, you can't see me. I'm not on the screen, but you are so cute with that face in like this. Oh my God, adorable. And
shy.
Then of course,
I was shy. Nobody believes me when I say I'm shy.
Wait a minute, I don't believe that you were shy because Michelle also sent this report card that says that Norbert really talks when he wants to and it has to stop. And then wait a minute, it wasn't enough to just say it once. Under the teacher's signature, she was like, he really needs to work on self-discipline. That's my favorite thing ever.
No, that was a different teacher.
Oh,
there was one from my English teacher. The other one is from my math teacher.
I see. So you were a troublemaker in all the classes.
But I was a shy kid, Lauren. But that I think is I'm in 8th grade. So I'm like by 13, 14, 15. Yeah, I started expressing some behavioral issues, which was later diagnosed as severe ADD. I was a straight up ADD kid, and I have so much empathy now that it's out and people talk about it, but I just could not sit still.
It's so cute. Well, you've been using that energy ever since. It's so funny. So did you think you would have did you always know you would have a family, that you would be a father? I mean, first of all,
I always
there
knew
you
I
are
wanted
with your
kids.
daughters.
My
They're your 2 older daughters. Aren't they gorgeous?
They're gorgeous.
And look at that. There's Georgia added to the mix.
My babies.
I know, you're gorgeous girls.
I did always want kids. I think I did. You know, I said I'm the 7th of 11. I was an uncle, I think, by the time I was 11 or 12. My oldest brother was always having kids. So I have 36 nieces and nephews, I think. So I've been around, and yeah, man, I always did. I always wanted, like, you know, a whole brood. I think Michelle and I are definitely done. We are. But yeah, being a dad is really that's my job in life. Do you know what I mean? You must feel that way too. You have a daughter, you know, that's my job. The rest of all of this is my passion. It's my privilege. It's all of that. But like my gig is my kid.
Yeah,
my kids.
Gig is to be a parent. That is your number one. I feel the exact same way. It's such a awesome responsibility, and you're doing such an amazing job. She is so cool. She's a good girl. Of course, I'm only seeing her through your eyes, but. Well, I think she's pretty special. And, you know, when we did Last 5 Years and you had your girls with you up there, it was the first time I had worked with an actor who had children and they were around. And I remember thinking, yeah, I want to have kids. I want to have a daughter. I was very inspired by you as a parent. You were just able to balance all of it. It's very impressive. It was exciting for me. But since we are talking about you being a father, let's show Big Fish, because it's all about being a father and how important that is, and keeping your awe and inspiring the next generation. So here's Norbert Leo Butz in Big Fish.
I've never been a man who lived an office life. I've never been a man behind a desk. I'm not made for things like mowing lawns or apron strings. I'm my best when not at rest. So I fight the dragons and I storm the castles and I win a battle or two. But then a feeling comes like 50,000 drums all banging, bringing my stories home to you. On a wing or on a
attentive, be inventive, be the first one to rejoice, be the hero, and the world will soon be yours.
I love it. I love that show. It's so stunning.
You're making me
And you are so
super weepy today. I'm just like, maybe I've been isolated. It's like therapy today.
you
I'm
miss
like,
your family so much. I know. Oh my God.
but I
You're on the
miss
couch.
Broadway.
It's like,
I miss
oh, I
the fact that
know.
Broadway is open. I mean, it's beautiful to watch it, but it's bittersweet, right? Yeah.
It's so bittersweet, but I think that's really why we were doing these shows, is to remember that we love it and to know that light is the light is at the end of the tunnel, and we're gonna get there again. It's just,
Yeah.
we are definitely
Yeah.
paying our dues in this moment right now, but certainly didn't mean
Yeah,
to make
definitely.
you cry, even
Yeah.
though I guess it just shows that you
Oh, no, it's all
are
good.
still feeling like inspired by what we get to do and the privilege of getting to be performers. And
I disagree. I think I'm very depressed. I think I'm super depressed, and I think that I need some. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Some
Of
therapy.
course, I miss it so bad, and that
I'm just gonna
that
sit here
show
and
was
laugh.
again, really, really. That show was so beautiful. Someone asked me what that show was about. I remember we had a company meeting with the PR department, and they said, no, we want you guys all to post your social media. It's a show about love and family and fathers and sons and the hope of the. And I just remember writing, and I'm like, that's such bullcrap. It's about death. It's one big meditation on death, which is literally what that original novella of Big Fish is.
Yeah.
And then the film. It's a
Yeah.
big, beautiful, splashy Broadway extravaganza story about death. And it's about this, the inevitability of our mortality, the
Yep.
importance of leaving our loved ones with a narrative of our lives. It's all we can leave them with,
Legacy.
And
It's about legacy,
totally right,
Yeah.
and that show was, for me, it was such a beautiful. I do get emotional talking about that show. I lost a sister, a brother, and my dad, all in less than 5 years, and then I went to do Big Fish, and I loved that show because at the end, when Edward Bloom dies and he goes to the next place, and he sees. Oh, I get so emotional talking about.
Oh, I
it.
do
But he sees
too. I do
everybody
too.
from his life.
Yeah.
I got to sing this big song. I felt so connected to my sister and my brother and my dad. They were just with me. And I would watch the audience. It was a big weep fest. Everybody would be weeping at the end. But that was what was so beautiful about it. Everybody in that theater, that, I don't know, couple thousand people or whatever, sat next to that person that they didn't have anymore, you know what I mean? And just felt that presence.
Yeah.
All together. It was really, really incredible. And, it's really only theater that's the only place that we have those, right? Communal.
I was going to say, it's a
weep
shared
fests
experience.
is in a theater.
Yes. Like you're feeling,
like
your heart is beating.
In the theater or
tandem.
church.
Yeah, it's true.
It's either theater or church. It's the only kind of places, I don't know, maybe 12-step meetings or something, but it's really the only place where that happens. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
and
do.
That show is really special to me. And I think someone's gonna you guys did it. A lot of people that took on Big Fish realized the better way to cracking the bigness of that show was to actually strip it down.
It was, yeah.
And use theatrical ways to tell the story.
Exactly, yeah. And it got to the heart of it. It did work for our production. It was equally, we had the same experience that you're talking about. You had with 2,000 people in the audience. We had this great shared emotional, cathartic moment in our 130-seat theater. It was wonderful. And I think you're right. Theater transcends, and it really makes people come together and see humanity. And we put on stage stage, how we want to reflect how we see the world, and there's just so much
I heard
beauty in it.
something. I heard something so beautiful yesterday, Lauren, in a podcast. Oh, it was the actress Natalie Portman, and she was talking, I think, to Dak Shepard or something, and she said, you know, when you sit in a theater with people, and you cry with them, or you laugh with them, or you look at a character on a screen or on a stage, and maybe it's a really complicated character, and you're empathizing and you're crying. Then we go into our lives, having had the experience. Now we can increase that empathy, that sense of community with humanity. Once we leave the theater, the theater makes us practice empathy. It's like going to the gym for empathy.
That's awesome. And no, that is so true. It's so beautiful. And it's why we need the arts.
It carries us. Yeah, you can't sit down with other strangers and see them so vulnerable and then go out and do a violent act or do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
It inches us further toward compassion.
Oh, it's so right, and that is why, you know, the arts are so important, and we need to make sure we're continuing to keep theater alive and live. It's just it is important for our souls and for our hearts. I'm really grateful, Norbert, that you spent this time with us tonight. I know you have probably Zoom
I just
bedtime
loved
with your
hanging
daughter.
with my friend. I don't get to see you so rarely.
Every second of it. It's so awesome to see your face, and I'm just. It's been fun catching up, and I'm sorry we went over the hour, but it's just been too interesting and too fun to talk to you.
Okay, well, next time let's sing together, because we love to sing. We love to sing together too. So next time
let's do it. Let's do it, baby. I love it so much. Thank you, Norbert. Good
Lauren,
luck with your show,
Lauren is one of the great. Thank you. Lauren is one of the great. I say this great harmony singers of all time. You are one of the great harmony singers of all time. I always think of you that way. Your tone can fit into. It's astonishing. Like you're just so in the pocket. It's crazy.
Well, we're gonna sing together soon. How about that?
Yay! I know. I heard. All right.
So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yeah, start warming up, getting that muscle going. I love you too. I'm so grateful. Everybody say thank you and good night to Norbert Leo Butz. We'll see you soon. Bye. And for everyone who's sticking with me, let me just tell you a few more things before we sign off for the night. We've got a couple of other shows coming up. We have a Christmas concert coming up next week on Saturday called A December to Remember. We've got an amazing cast of singers. We'll have 25 people in person, and online tickets are still on sale. So please get your tickets for that. It's going to be awesome. And then December 21st, we are going to have Moses T. Alexander Green on our Living Room Live broadcast with special performances from his show Pooled and Motown Christmas. It's going to be great. You're not going to want to miss it. It's our holiday episode. So thank you so much, and tune back in January 17th for character building with three-time Tony nominee Terrence Mann. He is going to be with us on January 17th at 7:30 right here on YouTube. So thank you very much for being with us tonight. Thank you, Norbert Leo Butz. Thank you to Melvin Gray, Jason Koch, and Matt Schaefer for joining us as well. Thank you, as always, to my husband, Charlie Brady, who's helped with this broadcast, with these videos, and making it go smooth. And I hope everyone stays very, very safe, and you're all wearing your masks so we can get back in the theater and create more empathy and art. Good night, everybody.